Well, good morning, church. It's December 11th, and we are on the 11th day of the Advent before Christmas. In today's passage, we're going to look at Hebrews chapter 2, verses 14 and 15. And this is going to be a passage that is an easy one to use when sharing why it is that Jesus came, because it gives an overall view of what it is that he came to do. It links not only Christmas, but it links Christmas to Easter. And so let's read the passage and hopefully you'll see what it is that we're talking about. Since therefore the children share in flesh and blood, he himself likewise partook of the same things, that through death he might destroy the one who has the power of death, that is, the devil, and deliver all those who through fear of death were subject to lifelong slavery. You see how this passage talks about his coming, being made into flesh and blood so that he might destroy the one who has the power of death, that is the devil, and he partook of that flesh so that he might be delivered over to death. So let's just take it apart a little bit at a time. It says, then, since therefore the children share in flesh and blood, the children who have humanity, who are clothed with humanity is what it's talking about. And the children are, if you skip down to verse 14, it says, therefore he had to be made like his brothers in every way. And right before that, it says he helps the offspring of Abraham. It's the offspring of Abraham that he's helping. And it's not just merely the physical offspring of Abraham, although he has helped Israel quite a bit, and he will reestablish them in the future. But here specifically, he's talking about the spiritual offspring of Abraham, those of faith like Abraham. He helps them. And so those who are believing. And so he took on flesh and blood because the children of faith have flesh and blood. And he himself likewise partook of the same thing, that through death, he took on this flesh. He took on becoming the baby in Mary's womb and being born of this virgin woman so that he could then, it says, partake of the same things. He might be human in the way that we are human. So the divine Son, who's truly God, took on flesh and became truly human, truly a man. And he did that so that through death, through his death, by dying on the cross, dying under the wrath of God, being made sin for us in his death, he died that way that he might destroy the one who has power over death, that is, the devil. In other words, this passage here is talking about the fulfillment of Genesis 3. That the seed of the woman is crushing the head of the serpent through death. He might destroy the one who has power over death, that is the devil. The devil's power has been crushed by the death of Christ. And the power of the devil is death. What does that look like? He's the Grim Reaper we've seen images of and that sort of thing. He's the accuser of the saints. He's the one who, he's like the internal affairs at the police department. He's the one who's looking into everybody and trying to find fault and trying to find issue. And when he finds issue, he comes and he pleads it before God and says they deserve death because they've done these very things. And so the power that he has to accuse has been taken away. Not that sin has been taken away yet. As he accuses us before God, Jesus steps in and says, I died for that one. I came, I was made flesh, and I died for that one. And so the devil has no more power. And because he has no more power, he delivers all those who through fear of death were subject to lifelong slavery. Now, we were subject to slavery to the law, to try to be perfect, to try to earn our way into God's family. But this verse is telling us that through the death of Jesus, he removes the power of death from the devil and removes us from the fear of slavery. We are afraid of God because we're not perfect according to the law. We're afraid that we're going to be thrown into the lake of fire at the end of our lives because we've messed up and we keep messing up. But the passage here says he's delivered those who through fear of death because of my sin, were subject to lifelong slavery. He's delivered us. And it goes on, if you wanted to read it, that it's not angels that he helps, it's the offspring of Abraham. Therefore, he had to be made like his brothers in every respect, so that he might become a merciful and faithful high priest in service to God. He's a merciful and faithful high priest. He's in service to God, but he's a high priest for us, to make propitiation for the sins of the people, because he himself has suffered when tempted, he is able to help those who are being tempted. Church, I know I read down further, but I knew it was there, and I was going to stop, but I just didn't. He's a merciful and faithful high priest. He removes you from the fear of slavery. He partook of flesh that he might help you in the times you are tempted, in the times you fail when you are tempted. Church, this Christmas, celebrate what the Son of God has done. He's removed fear and empowered us in the midst of the world that would tempt us away. Celebrate Jesus and share him. Have a good day, church.